Board of Trustees are hereby reconvening open session at 5:43 p.m. Roll call. Trustees to identify themselves by trustee area to confirm a quorum. Dr. William Mellinger, trustee area 1.
Cindy Gardner, trustee area 3.
Scott Kraft, trustee area 4. And Jordana Ritalin did join us for a closed session, joining at I think it was at 4:15, and then we just exited closed session there. Brian Willemse, would you please come to the microphone and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand. Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That's the exceptional principal of Room of the World High School. Our best high school on the mountain. Uh-oh. And then our other best high school is Mountain High. And then our other one is Rim Virtual Academy. And then, oh boy, he's in trouble already. Yeah, I dug it. Closed session report. Announcement of reportable actions taken during closed session. There are no actions to report from our closed session. Now we're moving into an item that we moved on the agenda, and it is my privilege to present 13.1. Board of Trustees approval of oops. Get rid of some letters. Board of Trustees vote to seat student representative Diane Zhang, Rim High School. The interim superintendent recommends the Board of Trustees vote to move item 13.1 to 8.2 to allow student representative participation in the September 14, 2023 regular board meeting. Do I have a motion? Motion. Scott?
Second.
Cindy? All those in favor of seating Diane Zhang as our student board representative, say aye.
Yeah. Oh, yay.
So, Diane, would you please come take your place and welcome to the school board. Now, Diane, you know there is a microphone there. And there is a button that you push right at the bottom. When the red light comes on, it says your microphone is turned on. And that means you're allowed to use that microphone to talk during a board meeting. All right. 9, public testimony. Public comment period for items listed on this agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. The public comment period is administered by state law and is the point in the meeting set aside for members of the public to share their opinions with the board. Open meeting laws do not permit the board to engage in dialogue or answer questions. Though it may not take action on non-agenda issues raised at the public comment period, the board, for example, may refer any matter to the superintendent or interim superintendent for review or take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Protocols for speakers. I'm really concerned about the speaker we have tonight, so I hope she's listening carefully. Hi, Carol. Any person who wishes to address the governing board on agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter of their jurisdiction must complete a green speaker's form and submit it to the executive secretary and the superintendent before the meeting is called to order. Individual speakers are allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda item. The board limits the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. Speakers who have complaints against board members or staff are encouraged to seek resolution to those complaints by using the Rim of the World Unified School District written complaint procedure rather than orally addressing them at a meeting. The board will not respond to such complaints until the applicable complaint procedure BPAR 1312.1 has been followed and has reached the board level. Where a complaint concerns a district employee identifiable by name, position, or other facts, the board cannot respond until proper written notice has been given to the employee pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. Decorum. The governing board is interested in the ideas and opinions of all stakeholders and endeavors to incorporate community views into its deliberations and decisions. At the same time, it must be able to conduct its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, in accordance with Board Bylaw 9323 and Government Code Section 54957.9, audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting. Open meeting laws do not confer any privilege or protection for expression beyond that otherwise provided by law. The public's understanding and cooperation are appreciated. Public comments. We have one public comment from Carol Kinsel, and she is speaking on Lake Gregory Environmental Education Nature Center. Walkabout with Jenny Haberlin. Okay, please, Carol. And again, you'll want to push that button. And once the red light comes on, you'll know that the microphone is turned on.
The button that is the
At
silver.
the base of that speaker,
At the base of the speaker.
a little silver button probably.
All righty. Go, right? Okay. Carol Kinsel, excuse me. Last month I brought forward to reestablish the Lake Gregory Environmental Education Nature Center that I had for 5 years over at the lot. Reestablishing, you what?
I'm talking more.
Oh, okay, I thought you were talking to me.
Just
So
take close-
so
take
I
close
get
to
I get 5 more seconds. So, the group, you guys said that we should look and see what was available, so that Jenny and I did our walkabout this morning. Room 151 and 163, which are at the far end, right by the upper grass field area. It has a separate entrance door adjacent to the restrooms. A door can be put there so nobody can go further into the building. It would be absolutely the perfect place to have the 2 rooms. And Jenny is smiling, talked about all kinds of different things. It would just be so absolutely perfect to reset up the Environmental Education Nature Center there, the grass area to do a demonstration garden on our natives that do not need a lot of extra water. That's why they are endemic to this area, our native plants. It would just be super, super perfect. I am looking forward to continuing the discussion on everything, and I am done within my 3 minutes.
You have 5 more seconds.
I have 5 more seconds. So what do you want to talk about? So it would, that location down there, because when Jenny and I were speaking, I said, I want it to be a place where people can come in, but not disrupt and not wander the building. And so down there, and I'm pointing to where it is down there, the entrance, people can come right in and go right out and not go into the rest of the building. Because for security and safety and protocol and things like that, being an educator myself, I know the things are rules and regs to follow, and we talked about the different things. The safety of our people visiting, our students visiting, having a place for environmental education where the community and the school district and scouts and everything can come to. It's a perfect location. 151 and 163. Those are the 2 rooms on either side by the restrooms. Thank you much.
Thanks, Carol.
You're welcome. And good job. I work with Diana with the Arboretum.
You want to turn the microphone off, please?
Here you go.
Oh, there she is. I was going to say there's no real Teachers Association representative. So, real Teachers Association representative, please. Hi, Amanda.
Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening. RIM teachers have hit the ground running this year, and we've had a positive start. This year, the district has right-sized classes already. We have a good sub pool. We do have a few vacancies, but fewer than we've had in the past. And the district's working hard to fill those. And I know we were fully staffed at one point, right? And keep it back up. So clean start, like a pretty clean start. We have an open contract this year, and the negotiating teams will have much work to do to ensure that our teachers have a fair contract that attracts and retains teachers. In the midst of the national teacher shortage, it is extremely important that we have a competitive salary that includes benefits. We need to ensure we have working conditions that are conducive for success, including manageable class sizes. Inflation has impacted the teachers around. It looks as though the government recognizes the strain inflation has caused, has had on education, and will be giving Californians the healthiest COLA we have seen in a very long time. The purpose of the cost of living adjustment is to help with the rising costs of groceries, mortgages, rent, and, well, the cost of living. We need to see the COLA reflected in pay scales and not set aside for future emergencies. We already have an ample reserve set aside for unexpected costs. We know the district will collaborate with RTA to ensure that our teachers and staff are supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. So not seeing anyone at the table, do we have a representative from California School Employee Association? Didn't think so. And now we're going to move to a public hearing and go over first off the procedures for public hearing. Educational services approval to open and conduct a public hearing for pupil textbooks and instructional materials compliance for the fiscal year 2023-2024. Fiscal impact is none. Education Code Section 60119 requires governing boards of school districts to annually conduct a public hearing to determine whether each pupil in each school in the district has or will have prior to the end of that fiscal year, which would be June 30th, sufficient textbooks or instructional materials or both in each subject that are consistent with the content and cycles of the curriculum framework adopted by the state board. All core textbooks, including the language arts, math, science, and social studies textbooks currently in use, fully match state standards and comply with the requirements of Education Code Section 60119. Educational Services recommends the Board of Trustees approve to open and conduct a public hearing for pupil textbooks and instructional materials to discuss the availability of classroom textbooks for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Cindy? Second. Scott? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I hereby call public hearing to order at 5:57 p.m. Does anyone wish to speak to the textbooks? If not, then I will call the public hearing to close at 5:57 p.m. Now we move to reports and presentations. Number 11.1, business services presentation, approval of the budget, unaudited actuals, and enrollment report. Jenny Haberlin, Chief Business Official.
Hello, thank you very much this evening for having us, and welcome Diane. It's going to be exciting to have you part of our team. So ask me any questions you'd like to, so my son can get them dry up. So you have an agenda item on the later on in your packet to approve the unaudited actuals. I'm going to give a quick report on where we are and what the unaudited actuals are. unaudited actuals are the final closing and cumulative financial statements for the fiscal year end this year, fiscal year 22-23. And annually, we are mandated by EDCO to close the books, which we do all summer, leading into September, and then compile the supplemental reports and then bring the unaudited actuals to you for approval. They're called unaudited actuals because at this point, our fiscal year audit isn't completed yet. Our auditors will be here in October to finish up. They come about 3 times a year. We have a spring visit, usually work over the summer, and then a fall visit. And so once they audit, and complete their audit, we have not only an audit report, but then our financial statements, we don't republish them audited for financial statements, but then the final cycle is complete. So what we do about this time of year, we've been really working, my team has been working in both years, 1 foot in fiscal year 22-23 and 1 foot in fiscal year 23-24. Then once this process is complete, we will start revising the 23-24 budget. We haven't done a ton of that. Sometimes at this point in time, I can give a more in-depth report on the revised budget, but that will come in October. So, but I have for you, we have a copy of the PowerPoint, a draft copy of our snapshot that we normally pass out. It kind of gives our story in 1 page, a little synopsis about our district, what challenges we have. And we kind of picked and chose what accounts to represent and highlight on this page, because usually it's part of our story of a small district on some of the areas that are underfunded, such as transportation and special ed. We're not picking on them because, on a program standpoint, because, they operate an awesome program. We highlight them because of our advocacy for higher funding at the state level. So we did make a change. The shaded areas are blue instead of green. So we thought, well, let's just change it up a little bit this year and change the color on you. So also 1 slide in the PowerPoint is a little hard to see. So I did kind of print it out on regular, I'm not going to go over that, but that's why you have an extra piece of paper in front of you. So again, this is the report of enrollment and unaudited actuals for the current year. And we'll start on the government code and ed code that for your information on why we're mandated to do this today. Okay, and then what are our practices and protocols? I won't read this line for line, but we must maintain our required 3% reserve. We must have a budget and an LTAP that are in alignment. And then we really have to monitor position control, our restricted and unrestricted funding, and working with site departments and on their individual budgets. Snapshot on where we are right now with enrollment. We've completed a solid month of attendance. So we are in attendance month 1, and we are at 2,827 students district-wide. As you can see, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Really, we ended the year last June at 2,853. So we're just down slightly from June, and we're down slightly from the year before. We do see, we're kind of leveling out, here that it's not like a drastic decline like we've seen in 3, 5, 7%. And then our ADA is really holding in there right now on, I don't think you can really see the dot on the month 1. It's a little tiny square up on the green bar. And so we're maintaining right now about a 94% attendance rate district-wide. Not every school is at that, but if we take a cumulative number, we're running right out to 94%, which is better than we have been in the last 2 years at 89 and 90%. So that's positive, because when we have less students, we at least want to kind of stop the bleed with at least a state average attendance rate, if not higher. Our first month strive for 95 You can see the different schools there, with CHE, LAE, VLE, Mountain, MPH, a high school and RVA. The highest brick and mortar school, LAE, with attendance of 95.40, so they've reached our stride. LAE, and then RVA at 98.68.
Yay.
Wow.
Little hard to see up there on the screen, but I've had this slide. This is the standard slide that we present at the different reporting periods. This is our summary of our total LCFF revenue. And as we know, LCFF revenue is our local control funding formula. It was a newer quote unquote allocation method for allocating dollars based on attendance. And that was from the revenue limit method of allocation to LCFF was in 2012-13, and where there is a extra funding based on the demographics of the data of a school district, which are your low income ELs, foster youth, et cetera. So capture some of that extra funding, and it's a total LCFF local control funding formula. It's still, even though the state considers this our little advocacy points we like to get across, even though technically we're at full funding under LCFF, we would like to say it's not adequate funding. It's technically the mandated amount the state has to pay us, which is on the floor. So one of the things I'd like to highlight is that year over year on what the actual extra dollars is. And as we have we will revise this graph or this chart, excuse me, because right now we have not recalculated LCFF for the 23-24 years and subsequent years based on a revised enrollment for this year. So these were LCFF at budget adoption. So as we revise the 23-24 budget this next month, we will have then our projections moving out 5 years will be revised as well. And I expect the out years will be more positive than they are now because our projected enrollment was a little lower than it came in. Even though we're still in a decline, we're still a little higher because we kept with that 3% budgeting for LCFF, even though we staffed at zero decline. So we could cover ourselves, which it seems like that worked. But then we will re-bench our revenue side in the next couple of weeks. Now that we've closed the books, we can get to some of that housekeeping. Okay. The next couple of pages is just a summary of the Fund 1 forms that are in the document that we have here. I know you had a PDF copy in your board folder, but I did make copies if you want a hard copy to take home with you. But yeah, for your stimulating reading, if you would like them, although they are in your board folder, they were in there.
I want the tree.
Pardon me?
I do want the tree.
I know sometimes I'm still a paper person. Sometimes I do like to look through. It's hard for me to follow on the screen. But the next 2 pages here is just a summary of the Fund 1 detail that is in the state form. State forms are a little confusing to muddle through because not only do they have the same numbers represented maybe 3 or 4 different ways in a summary form, then a more detailed form, then on a function level versus a resource code level. So sometimes it's a little confusing getting through this packet, but this is a summary of just Fund 1, the next 2 pages. I highlighted here because that is how we ended the year with total unrestricted revenue, $37,188,908 unrestricted revenue. And that is things like lottery, our AB 602 funding for special ed, although that's on the restricted side of the budget. Sorry about that. We have other state revenue and interest that we earn on our accounts and LCFF and some forestry reserve dollars. I highlighted it because on the next screen, it's hard to see up on the TV up there. But when we look at our total expenditures based on a percentage of like the total pie, right now, the percentages I think are a little misleading because of so much one-time money. We have all that extra funds that we're spending. We have all, we had carryover of Title I that we needed to spend. That was, we had a waiver that we applied because we had too much carryover. We had to get that spent. We had CSI funds, the multiple buckets of COVID funds that also included some special ed dollars we were able to offset. And so with that one-time money, some of our percentages, we're going to have almost like an asterisk over this few years when you were just looking at percent of the pie, what are we spending on what, because of all this one-time money. But when we look at just salary and benefits compared to the total expenditures, 76% of our salary and benefits were that piece of the pie. But when you look at salary and benefits compared to just unrestricted, now that's also a little skewed because we had one-time expenditures for salary and benefits, like through the negotiation things too. But the county and the state look at our part of their fiscal solvency indicators. They would look at our total salary and benefits compared to only the unrestricted side of the budget, knowing that it's skewed right now because of all this one time, right? But then it's 97% of our, when you look at it, just what the money that we have the most control over, that doesn't leave a lot extra, for things like when utilities get higher and things like that. I think last few years, we're going to have a little asterisk by, we have one more year of the COVID dollars, and then we'll kind of see, okay, what's our new benchmark and what's our new percentages, because we've had such an influx of the one-time money, which we're thankful for. I do have a slide on that in a couple of pages. Very, very thankful for. We were able to do things with some of that COVID money that we hadn't been able to do, like the one-to-one technology. We've replaced things in classrooms. We were able to give stipends and things like that. So, but it's one of those things where we're going to have, even on the attendance, we're going to have 2 years where, the attendance, because of a post-COVID environment, is that 3-year average? Well, we really have 2 years that the whole state, we were running so low, 89, 90% like everyone else was. So just wanted to kind of, when we're looking at these numbers and comparing, we'll have to remember kind of a COVID years, non-COVID years when we get out. Okay. And just really a picture worth 1,000 words really is that's our entire budget for 2022-23, how we ended. I was saying in our office, right, wrong, or indifferent, we close the books and it is what it is. And, we'll just, auditors will be here in October and we'll just see how it goes. But we feel very confident in how we close the books this year. But then that's just the same percentages, but just in 80. Fine. We have here the estimated, the current COLA, 8.22%. And then what the estimated COLAs are for 24-25 and the subsequent years. These will change, the 24-25 and subsequent years will change throughout the years. Throughout the quarters. And when we do fit first in around in December, these numbers may change by a couple of percentages. When we have the governor's budget in January, they'll change, may revise, they'll change. So, until really then the state adopts a new budget in next June. Okay. One of the things that we keep this slide into is just the because if you look at that graph with our total budget, you can see what total employee benefits are, which includes unemployment, workers' comp, PERS, and health and welfare on what percentage of the total pie is just on cost out of our control. And this is just what STRS has leveled off on our percent per payroll. But you can see that PERS is continuing to go up every year. So when we go into 23-20, we're in 23-24, really 26.68 cents for every dollar for a classified worker is just on PERS. So then, you know, so that's a cost that's really out of our control. And another area that we can have advocacy at the state level to make this which is.
So Jenny, I was reading in the paper that the employees at the state level, the employees they like to keep at least a healthy fund balance of 80%, right? So when the stock market's all over the place and it impacts the state's investments and that drops, then we may see some adjustment in the rates. So I haven't heard anything from, even in Sandbags, an impact on PERS rate. Have you?
I have not, but one of the things is the volatility is on the PERS side and not the STIR side.
Right,
Because,
PERS.
yeah, and because it takes legislative action for STIRs to go up, where PERS is just a PERS board. They can, you know, and that we will see changes even from the different reporting periods sometimes, and when we do our multi-year projections on, okay, our PERS was 26.8, but maybe at second interim, it's 27.2, and then at budget adoption, it's back down to 26.8 because they've, you know, given districts relief or they've gotten another order in with investments.
They
Yeah,
didn't
or capital.
perform like expected. And again, they want like an 80% healthy balance in there. And it's, they're, you know, the whole idea is, oh, it's dropped into our, you know, not our comfort zone. You know, like, but I haven't heard anything about adjusting it.
I haven't either. Okay, I'm going to this slide because it's hard to read. Yeah, I printed it out on a bigger piece of paper for you. I'm going to spend just a little more time, and I don't want to. I know there's a lot of business to do today. We let everyone to have a chance. That this summary here is the amount of the restricted funds, grants, and awards that we are carrying over now that we've closed the books into the next year. So these are awards that we've received, and it could be a 5 or 6 year award. Why we haven't started spending it yet, and that's what the case with 2 of these items. But and then they will be rebudgeted in the 23-24 school year. So there's items on here like our expanded learning opportunities program. Yeah, that's the ELA, because we know we're getting that going, and I think it's looking like it's going to be awesome. I think that Title I child nutrition equipment grant, you know, that we're working diligently on. I'm not going to go through the list. I just wanted you, our restricted lottery if a site or ed services doesn't spend their allocation, you know, that gets carried over where unrestricted doesn't get carried over. We have some, the 2 grants that were at budget adoption that were at risk of being drastically reduced and then weren't, were the arts, music, instructional materials discretionary grant, not to be confused with the arts and music Prop 28 funding. Okay, this state likes to use same titles, and then the learning recovery block grant. So the arts, music, instructional discretionary grant really can be used on almost anything. And then the learning recovery block grant is a more restrictive grant. And right now, you know, we'll be going into the planning on, you know, a 5-year plan on how to use those dollars. So those are both 5-year grants. That we're just starting to spend this in this fiscal year because we got them last fiscal year. And then there was so much conversation that they'll be cut. You know, districts weren't spending, some were, but you know, most districts weren't spending those dollars knowing that the state was going, you know, they gave them, we're going to cut them back to fund the COLA. They cut them, but not as much as they said they would, maybe revise. So those are good. So those we're going to start, you know, planning on what our 5-year plan is.
They didn't ask for any of it back then?
Yeah.
They did ask for
Yeah, because some of it we on one of the allocations, we got 50% of it already. So then the receivable, when we book our year-end accruals and we book accounts, payable, accounts receivable, how much do they owe us? We tweaked our receivable amount. But the arts music, one of the two, I don't want to say it wrong up here. One of the two, we got the full allocation up front, but then they cut it. So we actually have a payable to the state now set up because they will take that money, but we hadn't spent it, so.
Right, we haven't spent it, but is it showing what here now, what we have to get back to the state?
Just the net.
This is the net.
The
Okay,
net,
good, thanks.
yes. So we've already done all that on the closing side, so we would only report the true net numbers, if you would say that. So one of the ones I wanted to highlight though is our ESSER mix. So our ESSER $3, which are part of COVID dollars. We have the ESSER. There's two ESSER 3 pots. Okay, there's an unrestricted, for the most part, ESSER 3 pot, and there's the restrictive ESSER 3 pot. Okay, they have resource code 3213 and 3214. We hadn't spent 3214 yet. A little tougher to spend, in all honesty, on the it's very restrictive. Probably, in my opinion, more restrictive than Title I.
Oh, really?
But so, and then the ESSER, the non-restrictive, that's the account that we set aside the $1.5 million to do the windows, because that plays into the whole air quality study. When we had all of the assessment, what would it take to do district-wide HVAC? What would it take if we can just do partial of it? And it, 22 million, we're right in there. And really, it was like, okay, what can we do with 1.5 million? As we went down, we can do windows. Okay, great. So we've been on this path of doing windows with Snyder Electric. They've visited a few times. We have bi-weekly meetings that we work with them. Jim has probably walked these sites 1,000 times with their team over the last year. So, I mean, really a lot. Okay. We've had meetings with architects, and then we've turned into almost weekly meetings because of some other extra duties that come kind of with their company, which is grant writing, which we got the COPS grant for. We just we submitted Tuesday night for that, so the safety grant that was due, that we had only a few days that we learned about it. So we've been doing some other projects with them as far as these windows. Well, we had a meeting that kind of came up last week, and then Jim and I met a handful of times on some areas where we are. I don't want to go into a facilities report, but just to talk about potentially some of the set aside and ESSER, that's why it's relevant. I'm going to be bringing an agenda item in October for us for asking for board direction on what we do now with that 1.5 million, and do we continue the window project? And the reason why we're asking that is because we had 10 bids out for windows. We received 3 of them back. Estimating, that's of course they're the construction managers, they can do this for us, but not only are the bids coming in extremely high, even higher with efficient, that we talked about. Through the DSA project, DSA has decided that if we touch a window, we have to touch all the ADA elements around where that window could be. So that's a different, that was a little bit of a surprise because we were trying to get ourselves exempt from that. I may not be repeating it as eloquently as an architect can, but in a nutshell, there is an exemption process and then a hardship process. We have not been successful in the exemption process, but we are applying for a hardship process. Hardship doesn't take away the ADA requirements, it just lessens the ADA requirements. So touching a window has turned out, and literally when you get a call at home on a Tuesday night from a contractor, you're going like, this is They normally don't, there's a problem we need to talk like right this second, and so, DSA has now, and if I'm murdering it, Jim, you can tell me if I'm saying this wrong. We would have to do student and adult bathrooms. We would have to do, walkways. Tourniqueted domes, of course, every door, the push pull, however counts per inch when you open and close a door, thresholds, there's a whole list. And really, it's become the ADA requirements now under this program has made it to where what we set aside, can't support the program right now. Now, the team is working kind of as we speak. Is there a quick something else, other options, put the money into another school? But really, because the ESSER monies have to be spent by June, not only do we have the restricted pot that was really being saved for this year, if we have another 1.5 million, it becomes we're happy for money, right? But it becomes all of a sudden you have a really tight timeline to spend it in other ways. And the intent of that money set aside was to improve air quality. So with the DSA aspect to it, it becomes almost an unaffordable project. I'd probably be a little too more negative than we can just see we're going to be having some more meetings. But I wanted to prepare you and so you see that 1.5 million. That's why I highlighted it up there. Is we might have to go back to the drawing board and see, do we reallocate that, or what else can we do to improve air quality within kind of what turns in these days, probably a very small pot of money considering. I do have an email into the state to see if roofing, we have an argument that a new roof at the high school would improve air quality. So, we are going to we're going to work on that statement, and I will submit that. If we get pre-approval for that, that would be probably a quick decision to make.
And can I ask something? Because we replaced so many windows at from high school. Remember? With measure. I don't remember.
The path of travel and
I don't remember. So are these all new requirements? I don't understand.
I think it all depends on the DSA office.
Oh, okay. Because we didn't have to do all of
But we were also doing other modernization projects at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
So, but right, we didn't have. Yeah.
Oh, Lord, love
Yeah,
it.
I recall that there was extensive amounts of things that were done.
Yeah.
Jenny, did you get just at least a rough idea of what all those ADA requirements might cost?
Do not hold me to this number
I
because
won't.
literally Jim and I had a conversation today this is how new this information is, okay? And I'm gonna put Jim on the spot and tell me if I'm remembering our conversation wrong, anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million.
$500,000 to $1 million? Wow, I'm surprised. I was expecting higher.
I see, maybe I am an optimist and I just don't know. So part of the looking at what, some of the extra pots of money that we'll be spending this year, we have some initiatives we keep, that we're still doing with the ESSER funds. We have some planning to do, obviously, in cabinet and some discussions to take. And, our partner, Snyder, is working hard on to see what other options we have. We weren't able to connect today because all of our schedules were just crazy. We were having to work through texts and emails and then conversations with them. But, if there's another option, we will present that in October. Okay, so a lot of people ask us, what does the lottery pay for? So, and how much lottery do we get? So we threw a slide in there on just what is our lottery funds. We probably get less than probably the average parent at home. things we did, we've heard, why do you need a bond? Why do you need this? You have the lottery, right? So, we did have an increase in unrestricted lottery revenue. This year, it's usually right around 400 and some change, but we did have some, I think, high dollar power, we had some where we're at the mercy of also how their games are going. So, but there's just a quick, snapshot of what our lottery revenue, our funds pay for. Okay, we did have some savings, each year, each presentation at this time, I do like to highlight where we have had savings, as we close the books. We worked really hard over the summer to see if there was restricted dollars that we didn't use that we can transfer, unrestricted costs to. So maybe we have something that's typically been an on the unrestricted side of the budget, but hey, we didn't, we had Title I and something else, can we use, we do spend several hours and hours on, okay, did we maximize all of our restricted dollars? And so we go through that exercise during the summer when, we meet with the different, we meet as a cabinet, or we, our SELPA, we had, some SELPA pots of money that were one time that were going to expire, and Tori helped us find expenditures that we can transfer there, and that saved us money. So, we work on things like that all summer also. But you can see here where we had some savings that kind of fell out, in the budget. One of the a big one is our interest revenue. But like double what we normally have. But you can see all of the one-time money that we have sitting, on the books. So that would be considered a one-time, of course, revenue. We wouldn't then rebudget our interest, especially as we're spending these monies down, our interest revenue would then normalize. Okay, and then our next steps. And we start, like I already said, we start revising the 23-24 budget. We are already in the process of identifying staffing changes, making sure people's account codes are correctly. If one teacher moved from 4th grade to 3rd grade, that's a different account number. Moved from Hoffman to BOE, that's a different account number. So what Scott White, my office, and I, we're already working on some of that. And then we'll start doing like really what I call housekeeping on the budget, posting the sites carry over. Some of them are anxiously wanting to spend it. So we have to really get through this time. Yeah, we have donations to post that they, unspent donations. And so we'll be working on that in the next couple of weeks. Do you have any questions?
I have one request and one clarification. On the where you're showing the COLA, is it possible next time to show a life perspective
Part of the what?
for COLA? Is it possible to in the future show a wider perspective, meaning more years? And show more years?
I have that, I just
Yeah,
named it,
that'd
but
be a pretty
yeah.
simple thing to do.
Yeah, I'll make a note to more years of COLA.
And I thought it'd be helpful when we were talking about our LCF, our funds that we get, the bottom line, you're saying the bottom line, that's all we get, and it's the bottom. And I understand that, but I think it'd be helpful if you kind of went over why that is and how some districts get more money than what we get.
So also maybe like a little one pager on Prop 98 and how those different
All those different things.
PPEs are calculated and all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just so we can understand it, because I think people hear that we when we get so much, but I don't think many times people don't understand why we are so much different than other districts and why we struggle so much.
And when you have a UPP count that's 64% versus maybe Rialto, that's 98%. And what that
Yes.
that difference is.
That's that.
And we're
huge
really,
difference.
we're happy with our 64%, but it will never be 98%.
We're happy with our scraps because that's what we're used to, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Reports and announcements, 12-1 governing board members. Scott, why don't you start? You get your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm not sorry. But I would also like to again recognize Diane. She's awesome and I'm so happy that she's here. And I'm excited for this year. I think we've had a good start. I think we're off to a good start. I think there's going to be some great things happening with our district. And I look forward to seeing all those things. And I've been talking with a lot of teachers and parents and, you know, there's some hiccups here and there, but all in all, I think everything was really well done. And I think everybody's putting their best foot forward and looking forward to some great things happening. So I'm excited for everything that's coming up and what's going on. So congratulations to all the teachers, all the students and all the staff that is involved because I think they've been working exceptionally hard and you can see it. So thank you.
Cindy.
So I know it's not on the agenda for ledge report, so I'm not giving one, but there's some things that came out of the SANDAPS meeting yesterday. I'll be sending you the platforms, the state and federal SANDAPS platforms. Those are things that when you go into legislators, they're the talking points. And we, of course, back those talking points up. Special education is always one. So I always bring our one page so that they can see what we're talking about when we show the impact of special education on our general fund. But those platforms are up to be reviewed, revised, and redone. And SANDAPS does want all board members to look at it and to give input. So I'll send those out as homework, because Bill loves homework. He loves, and if you can give me feedback, and if you like them the way they are, just tell me that. Just say, I'm good to keep going with them. Because they will be redone and then utilized in the next session. Okay? All right, and then the Congressman Overnolte, his staff person, reminded that the House of Representatives has what they call the most prestigious prize in student computer science to inspire science and STEM, computer science and STEM. And it's called the Congressional App Challenge. And it's for middle school and high school students to design an app and why they designed the app. And somebody did a weather app one and somebody won for enhancing the literature class in high school to help kids understand poems better. So I will send that information to you, Mr. President, and you can disperse that information to our principal. But I thought that was a pretty cool thing. I don't think that we've ever heard of that. So it was kind of nice to hear that about that, because they've been doing it for several years. And it's to inspire kids to get into those areas and help out. And then I too am excited about the start of the school year. I feel like every year that we're away from COVID, it becomes more normal. It's really wonderful to walk down and see leadership kids doing the posters again and collaborating. That was really fun to walk into Mrs. Markovich's class to give her candy as incentives because we had all this leftover candy. I guess I shouldn't say that we had all that candy. It's healthy snacks. It's got some milk in there, I'm sure, all that milk chocolate. So it's really nice to see the kids doing what they normally and always have done. So it's really great. Football's great, even though it was a fog bubble and I didn't see that. So very excited for the PTA events that are coming up. We're having like the NPH is having color run on Sunday, October 2nd at NPH with the carnival outdoors. Trunk or treats on for VOE and LAE are going to be October 20th. So they're already making plans. They're already getting donations. They are on like full mode, normal mode, which is really great after having several years of fits and starts because of COVID. So this is truly something really great to be able to experience again. So happy. Scott, Mr. Key.
Thank you, Cindy. I had the privilege of attending the back to school night for Mary Putnam Heck. Great job, Dusty. It's good to see all the people out there. So it's really exciting to see the number of parents and students out there. So that was a great night. Also, got to go to Charles Hoffman Elementary for their back to school night. It's fun to go to the other side of the mountain and see what's happening in Running Springs. And again, a great staff that we have there. And then I got to watch the BMXers at Valley of Enchantment Elementary, and they are doing their stunts as well as trying to teach on bullying and some other just more side issues, if you will, by using the BMXers to do that. And that was actually sponsored by the PTA, So some great events. And can I just say, I really appreciate Hurricane Heather coming through and cooling things off, so we didn't have 98-degree temperatures in our classrooms this year. Jen White said, I think that was really a good thing. So we need to be thankful that Hurricane Heather came through.
It's you, it's all you, Mrs. Whiteside.
Yeah, who knows? I may never praise you again, right? But I think academically, I think you would have been, you've got to appreciate it with me. Because we have challenges ahead that we're going to have to deal with. And even some things we were already hearing tonight on the concerns for the ADA requirements that might come. We have got to continue to work towards doing whatever we can to meet the facility needs of our district, at the same time taking care of the staff needs in our district. And it's a challenge to balance that, especially with the funds that we have. So we're going to have to look and say, what else can we do? But that's other agenda items. I should not continue to politic. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our interim superintendent, Mike Wisnam.
Thank you. I'll try to keep this relatively short. I don't do big formal presentations generally, but just some thoughts. Amanda, thank you for recognizing the hard work of the teachers and the great start that they've had. Thank you also for recognizing Shannon's team in working hard to pull that whole staffing piece together. Diane, congratulations. Welcome to the table. We look forward to being able to work with you. I think our future is in good hands. Mark, welcome back. I know you know it, but your RIM family is hanging in with your beautiful thing. And I was just thinking, at the last board meeting, you were sitting back there and you went home to start the mess of your life. And we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
The one thing and apologize for the managers in the room that heard this before. What really struck me this week as I've been working with different people is the job that we do operating a school district is extremely complex. And it hit me as I was sitting in a room with all the managers in the district, the principals, the directors, all the department people, and listening to what is going on an everyday basis in the district. It is a complex job. You have to know construction and DSA rules. We had an interesting presentation from the Bear Mountain folks, the ski resort areas, talking to us about some opportunities. And we think, how are we going to ever do this transportation wise? Because our transportation director, Jen, just came in just struggling getting. She goes, yeah, but you know what? I think I can get this done. So just that attitude that, yeah, we can do this. You know, tonight, Jenny, you take the extremely complex world of school finance and you make it understandable for us mere mortals. And that's appreciated. This goes on a daily basis, this highly technical stuff that becomes easy for some. I had to ask Mark to set up a Zoom meeting for the closed session for a member to be able to teleconference in. I wouldn't know how to make that happen. Mark said, yeah, that's the problem. Jen Whiteside, looking at trying to lead a group of educators covering 14 years of curriculum from pre-K through 12, plus all the added on stuff, trying to get us all pointed in the same direction. That's a huge challenge. Whether it's special ed, whether it's CTE, the site administrators, it's a tricky job. It's a lot of work. And it just struck me hard this week, sitting with these bright people, the districts and good needs. And I appreciate you guys absolutely, and really am enjoying working.
Thank you, Mike. Before I go on. Mark, we do really care about you. And so God continue to bless you as you work through all those challenges and your family. They are many. And I have to say also that it's also a good thing to see Brian walk in tonight.
That is.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, providing her first student representative report, Diane Zhang, Rim of the World High School. Welcome, Diane.
This is the presentation for the September school reports. And we'll be starting off with the elementary schools. CHE held their successful back to school night on August 31st that included a Title I principal presentation, 2 sessions of teacher presentations, and multiple community resource booths. CHE also held their annual Patriot Day ceremony this week on September 11th that included the Running Springs Fire Department, CHP, Twin Peaks Shore Station, Boy and Girl Scouts, Pipes and Drums, community members, families, and students. LAE began the school year with a well-attended back-to-school night that included community booths and opportunities to get to know the school staff. LAE continues as a leader in Me School, practicing the 7+1 habits for kids. We hold Friday Flag in order to synergize as a school, and the students love participating every week. LAE has held their first very successful PTA fundraiser, Step It Up, and we are grateful for all their hard work. And continuing on with the elementary schools, VOE started the year strong with a community back to school night. Many of our students were able to take advantage of the San Bernardino County Shock Clinic and dental screening. VOE numbers are growing. Our current enrollment is 527 students, and our average daily attendance is 93.19%. VOE PTA has been working hard for the students and staff. On August 25th, they held a membership drive with parent prizes and also an anti-bullying BMX assembly school-wide on August 29th and their first student store on September 8th. And moving on to Mary Putnam Hank Intermediate School, Mary Putnam Hank Intermediate School, MPH, started the year strong by hosting a welcoming and successful back-to-school night on August 16th, 2023. MPH expanded course offerings in the elective department with the addition of 2 periods of drama. Our AVID program has also grown in 6th grade. Every 6th grade team now offers AVID as an elective. We are proud to announce that MPH is on our 2nd year of full inclusion model of our low and high support programs in classrooms to help meet the needs of every student. Our ELD data chat started this week. We are excited to report that we have 12 students eligible for reclassification. That is 23% of the EL population. We got this. And continuing on with MPH PTA is ready for our color run and carnival fundraiser on Sunday, October 1st. The fun starts at 1 p.m. Come on, come on. We cannot forget to mention our first lunchtime PBIS picnic. Students enjoyed their food with friends on such a beautiful day on the mountain. On our board agenda tonight, approve Mr. Gomes as principal.
That's fine.
And moving on to Mountain High School, MHS submitted the WASP report Monday on September 14th, 2023. This year, we created the lab. Our free classroom has been set up as a science lab, computer lab, testing lab, art lab, etc., to be utilized by both RBA and MHS students as needed. Staff implemented a new aspect to our PBIS called store bucks, which students receive when they are caught being one or of the following: success-driven, optimistic, attentive, and reliable. Staff conduct random drawings in their store buckets to recognize students. Construction is finished. We are so happy. The counselor smiling in our office says it all. Thank you for investing in NHS. You made a difference. Our first credit check celebration is Friday, September 22nd in the MHS cafeteria at 11:30 a.m. You're all invited. MHS grows weekly. We've already had 2 graduates this year and anticipate several more in October. And next up is RIM Virtual Academy. 6 to 12 successfully transitioned to our new online curriculum, Edgenuity. Through the purchase of an Edgenuity add-on package, RBA offers numerous CTE courses for virtual students and on-demand 24/7 tutoring. Fifth graders are testing the Edgenuity K-5 online curriculum with great success and parent feedback. Every RBA student has signed a contract which has been loaded in Aries. Now that we're over a month into the school year, our intervention system is in full swing. Re-engaging and supporting student success is a primary goal of intervention. The district assigned RBA their own IEP case carrier, Kristen Champion, which has already made such a difference with our IEP compliance. Thank you. RBA grows weekly. And lastly, with RIM High School, the results are in. For the 2022 to 2023 Past Peak Performer Award, RIM High beat Big Bear High School on all state assessments. Big Bear High School will be providing breakfast for RHS staff, and RHS will get a photo opportunity at Big Bear High School in the coming weeks. Go Scots! On the board agenda tonight is a grant awarded to RHS from San Manuel Band of Mission Indians for $91,000. This funding will continue PAC upgrades and will expand Scots Lodge to the elementary level. This year, RHS has expanded course offerings. We have added or brought back French, AP Chemistry, AP Spanish, AP Pre-Calculus, Sports Medicine, and CT Construction Trades. Our goal is to provide a robust and rich curriculum for all RHS students. Fall sports are in full swing. All teams are off to a strong start as we aim to improve upon our 6 league championships from last year. PLCs began at RHS yesterday. Our focus this year is common planning and assessments to deliver and monitor quality first instruction. And that concludes the September school reports.
What? Thank you, Diane. Discussion and action items, Board of Trustees, vote to see, we did that. We're moving on to 13.2. Board of Trustees direction to be provided to staff regarding preparations for future bond direction to be provided towards, boy, I misread that. Let's start it over one more time. 13.2, Board of Trustees, direction to be provided to staff regarding preparations for future bond direction. Yes, could be. And at this point, in light of the fact that we only have 3 board members present, I'm going to call for a motion to table 13.2 to the October meeting.
I make that motion.
Second. So we all those in favor of tabling 13.2 direction for the future bond to October, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried unanimously. Please note that staff, well, that's now carried over to October meeting. 13.3 personnel services approval of the personnel page.
So moved.
Cindy, second. Scott. Mr. Interim Superintendent, do you want to tell us anything about anyone on that group there?
I think we do. I'm gonna ask our assistant superintendent to take over here.
On that personnel page, we would like to welcome Terry, alter ego, Dusty Gomes, to be the official principal at Mary Putnam Link School. Congratulations. Before you go, I just want to say thank you for his family that came, Ashley, Dusty, and Goldie. Thank you for supporting. You have a beautiful family. Ashley's stepmom and dad is also in the audience. And of course, Terry's mom and dad is in here as well. Thank you for coming and thank you for bringing your family to our family and continuing on the tradition. Well done.
I'd like to add one thing. I've spent a lot of years doing this and hired a lot of principals and interviewed even many, many more principal candidates. What really struck me with Terry is what came across loud and clear is this guy has a heart for kids. You know, he's already knows he has lots to learn being a first year principal, but he's got that piece down. He showed me he has a heart for kids. When I was at the back to school night, watching him interact with parents and kids, okay, this is going to be an easy one. Thank you, Terry.
Now we're going to actually vote on whether we're going to actually vote. I think we should adjourn the meeting for a photo. If all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
It is carried unanimously. I'm surprised. You want to take a picture?
Y'all want to come on up and just take a picture? I want to make a quick comment just real quick.
You're out of order, sir.
It's okay. I'm always out of work, so, I'm just happy to see, and I've always known him as Dusty, so when he started teaching at school and everybody's saying Terry, I'm like, who's this Terry? I didn't even know that guy. But, I'm just so happy for you. It's awesome to see you doing this, and I love seeing our RIM community become leaders in this community, so congratulations.
Thank you, Bruce.
Those guys are there. Come on up. Go right here in front. Come on over here. Come on, family. Come on, part of it.
Yeah, we have to.
I think your parents.
Not at that face, Cindy.
Come on, family. It's a team effort.
Picture.
Get a picture?
Oh, yeah.
You came to be a part of a picture.
Goodness, we're gonna have to back up. You were part of this. You have to be up here. Maybe you can use this when you're done. Yeah, thank you.
Come on.
That's why I say you stand right here. I'll sit.
Mr. Gomes, your face is hidden by your.
It's the other desk. Except for you. You gotta get over here. Good meeting here.
You were in on the interview, sir.
Come on.
You forgot to slide the button.
Yeah,
Where do you want? You want to start speaking here?
now you gotta back up.
All right. You got nothing?
I just.
We're just firing away. Show the love. Well done.
Thank you.
That goes to.
I don't know who's this.
That's.
Probably don't remember me, huh?
This is Goldie. You saw him at the lake one day. You saw him down at the lake. Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So stay with me. Job, guys. You have your back.
I will see you back. Diane, while I'm here, let me get another picture.
We were mom and dad. I hope you all read your article.
I'm gonna have her do the superintendent.
MJ, did you win any? I know. I have one. Okay. Good.
Congratulations, Dusty. 13.4 Personnel Services Approval of the Extended Learning Opportunities Program Instructional Assistant. Extending Learning Opportunities Program site need job descriptions and classified salary schedule. Fiscal impact estimated at $450,000. The budget source is Extended Learning Opportunities Program restricted funds. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, Cindy and Scott. Any discussion, or Jen, do you want to share anything at all about this?
Just briefly, we're excited. We have a board presentation coming in October, so we'll give you lots of details, but we're excited for what's to come.
Good. And this is using special funds, which is really good too. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. 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 Carried unanimously. 13.5 Educational Services Approval of Career Technical Education Incentive Grant for the 2023-2024 school year. Fiscal impact $181,675. Budget source Career Technical Education Incentive Grant.
So moved.
Motion, Cindy, second. Scott? Stephanie, are you wanting to say anything? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did I hear you, Scott? Okay, thank you. Carried unanimously. And now we're going to move to the consent calendar. Items pulled for separate votes and discussion are to be taken into consideration during agenda item 15.0. Are there any items that you wish to remove to the consent calendar?
I'm looking for the number, but if we could pull the donation from, so it's 19.
19.
If we could pull that, please, just for some clarification.
And if we could pull item 16, the approval for the students travel to Nisha. Where's that? Any others? Okay, so then I will entertain a motion to approve items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29.
So moved.
Second. Motion Cindy, Scott second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, carried unanimously. All right, now if we can move to item 16, the educational service approval for the students travel for the Rim of the World High School varsity and junior varsity football teams to Bishop, California. Fiscal impact $12,000. Budget source general fund secondary athletics.
So moved.
Second. Motion Cindy. Second Scott. Discussion. But can you tell me, do you know, is this part of a league? Is this on the league schedule, or so in other words, I guess I'm going to ask the people, is this something we're going to be doing in the future too?
Okay, so the Bishop bus was a little bit of a wonky one. That typically what happens is the transportation company takes the students up, there was a change in the transportation company's policy such that they were no longer able to accommodate the return trip back. So that same day, so then we would need to hotel the kids and return them back. We found an alternative company that was able for them to return them back the same day. But for the additional cost, we did get approval or we did get notice from the football boosters that they are willing to cover one bus, so it'll be cheaper than that. Yeah, and routinely what happens, this is a long-standing tradition between Rim and Bishop, the two mountain communities kind of, find their own way. And the boosters cover one bus and the high school covers the other bus, which makes the cost a little more reasonable. The reason why it's higher this year, which it should be under the 12,000 boosters, is covering the one bus. The reason why they're doing that is because of the change in the transportation company's policy at the last minute, and it's cheaper. It's still cheaper to do it this way than to hotel the kids up in Bishop. We priced both options out, and it was just something at the transportation company we had no knowledge of until a couple weeks ago.
When do they have to leave to get there?
There's a yeah, so JV leaves at 7, I believe 7:30, 9:30 for varsity.
So they pretty much missed the whole day.
Yeah.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried unanimously. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you. And now number 19, education service approval of the donation received from the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians for Rim of the World High School. Fiscal impact $91,455. Budget stores is restricted general fund. Is there a motion? Cindy, second. Scott. So now discussion. So
Yeah,
you want to come back up? Welcome, Brian. Thank you.
so at the Rim High School PTSA meeting on Monday, you explained the grant, how it came about, the history of it, what is, the current status, what's the future status, and then, you asked PTA, hey, Rim PTA, the elementaries might be coming to you for some advice and blah, blah, blah. So I would just like for you to give that same information to all of us so that we're all on the same page of this whole grant, including the Scott's Lodge part.
Absolutely. So this process started last year when San Manuel reached out to us to do a contact with one of our community members that they were willing to potentially support the school in some capacity. Their original phrase was, don't think too small, and we didn't. We gave them a really nice proposal and they came back to us and said, think smaller. And so we did. And we wrote the grant in alignment with San Manuel's funding priorities, which a big part of that is the arts education, which is why we focused on the PAC. We didn't hear from them for a good length of time. And then San Manuel reached out to us in April after hearing about the snowstorm and asked if there was a way that they could support. And speaking to Dr. Pricker, we had a discussion about perhaps expanding Scott's Lodge to the lower levels would be a good opportunity. So at that point in time, when the tribe group reached out to us, we were very, very grateful, but the snow emergency at that moment was over. So they asked us how they could help, and we thought this winter clothing through Scott's Lodge, expanding it. The Scott's Lodge program at the high school is very robust and very well funded, but there's nothing for that in other areas of the mountain. So at that point, we went ahead and put forward 2 proposals, one for the smaller PAC project, as well as for the expansion of Scott's Lodge. The tribe came back to us again and told us that they would like us to write for both. And that's why we have this kind of weird donation of 2 completely separate entities. So the summer went, last month, tribe reached out to us and told us that they were awarding us the grant. 80,000 of the grant money is for the PAC to finish the stage lighting project. The first chunk of that, the first 60,000 was what the district invested last year. And then the additional 10,000 came for Scott's Lodge. The way that it was written in the grant was for it to cover CHE and DOE, kind of get it to opposite sides of the mountain. But there seemed to be an appetite to spread it to all the elementary schools. We reached out, or I reached out to the elementary school principals about the potential for this, saying, hey, good news, we got this money, hope you want it. And the elementary principals were ecstatic to be able to offer the service. I think the overwhelming feeling for the elementary Scotts Lodge in particular is that we want something a little bit more focused than what we have. We have a very robust, donation, all kinds of toiletries. I think the focus was a little bit more just like on winter clothes. So it's not quite as robust and doesn't quite require quite as much maintenance as it does at the high school, but that will obviously be planning stages. We reached out to the RIM PTSA this past week at the RIM PTSA meeting and let them know there's some overlap between RIM PTSA and the lower level PTAs. And so the word's getting out there that there's this potential for Scotts Lodge at the now 3 elementary schools. And it's a good little bit of seed money that, we can start and then hopefully provide a service to some of our students that are needing clothing. Because the Scotts Lodge program at the high school has been remarkably successful. Actually, for all the schools, we routinely get kids coming over from Mountain and RDA, getting materials, and Stephanie told me earlier that we are getting a huge number of students going into the Scotts Lodge and receiving services that are in there. So kind of 2 disjointed projects that kind of because of snow and funding priorities and all the things came together. But I think ultimately leads to 2 really great opportunities for our students at all levels K-12.
At the elementary schools, do you know where they're looking at housing, clothes and things like that? And anything about the process they're going to use?
We haven't gotten that far in the discussion. However, all the principals led me to believe that they're more than able to accommodate that. I know Megan said there's a lot of empty rooms at CHE. I'm not going to pretend like I barely know the layout of High School. I'm not going to pretend like I know the layouts of the other schools. That's a joke. I know what. But they all expressed to me that they were happy to have it and could absolutely accommodate.
Good. Well, it's great to have a good relationship with Sandy and Will.
Yeah, and that's what we're hoping is the start.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimously. And thanks for doing all that. It's great to get that too. 16, governance team, future agenda items. Time allowed for the Board of Trustees to request agenda items for future meetings. Well, we have had a presentation the last 2 months. Do we want to ask staff to at least look further at the idea of a Lake Gregory Environmental Education Nature Center?
I think that further discussion to really nail down how it's gonna look in semantics. We've got the initial part, if we can just maybe have an update, I think.
So in other words, an item, something about presentation where what the staff would think about this and a presentation if you even want to go further or not, okay?
Definitely, we spoke after we met with Carol today. There definitely needs to be some cabinet level board discussion
Yes.
on, what capacity we have. It's surprised Jim, you got to learn about maybe some facility, issues today. There were definitely more pieces and more discussions to have. And we plan on bringing.
Okay, so you don't need us to ask you to do anything.
I think we can.
Okay,
But
Not yet, because we still have more discussion.
yeah, I was gonna say, we shouldn't be giving you a time frame. We should let the process evolve and then you'll bring it to us.
Okay,
Right.
I just didn't want to ignore it, but
all right.
okay. Hearing nothing else then, next regular board meeting is October 19th, 2023, and then November 16th, 2023. The Board of Trustees are hereby recessed to close session at 7:12 p.m.